Come here. Take your alligator. I don't know why you want it anyway. You're just going to stash it.
Everything bothers him.
He's unbothered.
He calls it unbothered, but that's what's cute because everything bothers him. He's bothered. I'm a botherina.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Unbothered by Thai Rivera. That's right, it's Unbothered by Thai Rivera. I've got a new face tattoo. Don't ask if it hurt, because yes, it really did hurt. It hurt more than I was expecting. I have tattoos kind of everywhere, and this was definitely the most painful. It is what it is. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I personally do love it. I probably would have placed this line over here if I had it to do over again. And sometimes people are like, tattoos are permanent. If you don't like where they are, if I don't like where they are, then I'll just have them lasered off and then I'll put them where I want them. I'm not really worried about that. Sometimes people put too much about that, and then sometimes people be like, if you have a tattoo on your face, then you obviously must hate your face. Actually, quite the opposite. I have done enough to my face now that I don't feel like I can mess it up. And I know some people would say that I've already messed it up in certain ways, but for me personally, the way I feel about it and the way I feel about myself is I'm kind of like a Ferrari. Some people may think they're ugly, but everybody knows they're expensive when they look at them, and there's a good chance you'll never be inside of it. Bijou is currently having a Whimzees Alligator. Whimzees Alligators, the never to be sponsor of Unbothered by Thai Rivera, but we still give them a shout out, and we still put our Amazon affiliates link for Whimzees Alligators down below in the description box. Lately, Bijou has started just stashing these, and right now she really seems to be going to work on this one, but she's stashed enough of them that I don't trust this bitch. Anyway, what I really wanted to talk about was what's happened in my week. So last week, I ended up going to watch a wrestling match. My friend Otto Von Clutch is a professional wrestler. He invited us to one of their shows that was downtown. Trevor James went with me. Our friend Penny Poison was performing that night, which Penny Poison does probably a cross between stripping and performance art. She has a very interesting story, and one day I would love to have Penny Poison on Unbothered. When she was a young teenager, she ran away with the circus, and I really want to know her story and how she's able to do the things that she does, because some of the things that she does are really what I consider painful, and I've asked her about some of these things, and I don't want to spoil any of the secrets and tell you guys any of the things that she's told me, because I would rather you guys hear it directly from her, and I'm hoping that I can get her to do the podcast. I don't know if she'll be able to, but I really, really do love Penny Poison. She's beautiful, and I really do respect her as a performer. When I was running my show at Thunderbird, it was going to be the cabaret. Penny Poison was one of the first people that I hit up. She wasn't able to do it at that time because she had some family stuff going on, but I really, really wanted her to be on the show. The other thing that happened was Angie Krum hit me up. She sent me a text message. She said that she was available later in the week or in the next couple of days for us to talk, and I was like, there's nothing for us to talk about. Either you apologize or we just move on. And she was like, well, I don't owe you an apology. And the reason that I said either apologize or just move on is because if you just want to move on, I'm fine with that. No apology is needed. No conversation is needed. But if you told me that you have no problem with me, and then it turns out a month later you want to have some kind of heart-to-heart, then clearly there was a problem. And for me, I don't want to spend my time talking to people about things that don't matter. Like, if I ever mess up, I'll give you just an apology and I'll leave it at that. My thing with apologies is if you're going to give one, then just give your apology and move on. Don't try to justify it with, this is why I was doing this, or this is why I was acting that way. If anybody doesn't know why I talked about Angie Krum the first time I talked about her on my actual podcast, somebody had put out screenshots of emails where they had called her out for talking about me. People hit me up about that and were like, hey, did you hear about Angie Krum talking about you? And I made a podcast where I used Angie's name in the title as clickbait, and that was for more than one reason. One, I want the views. It's called clickbait for a reason. I want these clicks. But honestly, it was because I knew all the people that had any interest in that would actually click on it, because I was saying in the title basically that Angie had stabbed me in the back. But like I said, it was just so that people would watch it and so people would hear me, because if you heard that episode, you heard me say that nothing was going to turn me against Angie Krum. Even this right now isn't turning me against Angie Krum. I just have realized that Angie is right now living in toxicity, and I don't want to be involved in that. I don't care about people's drama or when people want to have drama. If you ask me, she shouldn't have been talking to that person in the first place, and especially about me when people know that that person had had threatened me with a hate crime, and I had to go through a whole restraining order and everything else, which that all wasn't drama. That was stuff that actually had to happen because I was actually being threatened. And like I've told you guys before, I'm not going to be threatened. I'm not living that life. I'm not doing anything to be threatened. So I was fine with all of this happening, the fact that she was still talking to that person, that's her business. But what did bother me about my interactions with Angie was when she cut off contact with me. It was when she asked me who was talking about her, and I didn't see any benefit in telling her who was talking about her because I don't like starting trouble between people. I will talk about my business as much as I want to talk about my business, but as far as involving other people and starting a he said, she said, or anything like that, the truth is, we all know what we've said. If somebody were to come to me and say, hey, I heard you said this, I would say, go check the podcast because that's where you'll hear it. And if it were anything I ever said in private and somebody asked me about it and it was true, I'd just be like, yeah, I said that and this is why I said that. But Angie wanted me to tell her who it was that was talking about her. And even if I told her exactly who was saying what they were saying, because there was also situation where Angie had said that I was trying to blacklist her, which again, just living in toxicity, because there is no way and no reason that I would ever blacklist or try to blacklist. I don't even have the power to blacklist Angie Krum, but there's no way I would ever try to do that. And if you know the chronology of the way those things worked out, or even when she said that, and that was something that might jog her memory on finding out who it was that was talking about her. Telling me that she was talking about me. The night that she said that I was trying to blacklist her, it's ironically was the night that I had her work for us, feature for us at Ocha Bar. And that was to hopefully get the ball rolling for her because she had been telling me earlier that night when she was coloring my hair that people weren't giving her spots and that she wasn't getting opportunities that she should be getting. And I hit AJ up immediately after that and was like, when can we have Angie headline? And he said it was the following Thursday was open and that we could have Angie headline there. And so I wanted to have Angie on just to get the ball rolling, help her out a little bit. I also hit up a Miracle is what we call him. I was about to say his actual name, which it's not a secret. It's on his Facebook, but he goes by a Miracle. So let's address him as a Miracle. And so I hit a Miracle up about, he runs a show at 18 Bin, which I've headlined not too long ago. And me and a Miracle have a really good relationship. And I asked him if he could feature Angie sometime, which would not only get her a couple of dollars, which Angie's not worried about money. She makes plenty of money doing hair. And, I had hit him up so that he could have her feature and that hopefully that could get the ball rolling too. Then I also hit up my friend Jesse Ever in Phoenix, who runs a show that I headlined not too long ago, sold it out kind of right away. It was actually pretty impressive. But I love Jesse Ever. He's a really good guy, straight up dude. He'll pay you what he says he's going to pay you. He'll work out an agreement with you and he'll stick to that agreement. And so I was trying to hook her up with Jesse as well. I hit him up immediately and was like, hey, do you know Angie Krum? Also, I had Angie come out and do a set on my Wise Guys weekend. So I'm really trying to help Angie out, or I was really trying to help Angie out. So there's no reason that I would try to get her blacklisted. And like I said, when it came to that part, it was like she stopped talking to me after I wouldn't tell her who it was that had been talking about her. And it was because it didn't affect anything. If I didn't get mad about it, if I don't care about it, then why does it matter who said what? And yeah, I did make the podcast and I included her name, but even that, I felt like she should have taken advantage of that and got herself a bunch of spots like everybody else has anytime I've talked about them. I don't even care if you're like, Ty's bullying me, I need these sets, and just go with that. But if you heard the podcast, it was actually really positive. I did say Angie was trash from Arizona, but if you heard that podcast, you also heard me say I was trash from Arizona. And I don't consider being trash from Arizona to be a bad thing or an insult. We're just trashy people in Arizona. There's so many trailer parks there. Like, that's what Arizona is. It's trashy. It's a lot of porch talk is what I like to call it. People sitting on the porch. There's a bug zapper in the background. People are smoking cigarettes, drinking some kind of cheap beer, maybe Natty Ice or something like that. And it's just, it's that kind of situation in Phoenix. And so I do consider myself to have a special relationship with Angie, even if for right now I feel like we're not talking, because as I've told people before, I may really, really like you. I may even love you, but I'm always going to love me more. So when it comes to either being part of your toxic relationship that you're having with the world or the universe right now, because I really do feel like it's that kind of situation with Angie, and I don't feel like it's out of line to say this, but whenever I talk to Angie, it is a lot of negativity, and I never minded it because it's always about other people. And I don't mind if you want to vent to me about other people getting on your nerves or any of that stuff. Like, that's life. Sometimes people get on your nerves. But once it starts to hit me and the negativity gets, sent my way, then that's when I'm going to be like, no, I'm really not doing that with you. And I'm not trying to be rude, but it's just not what I want to do. And I don't like to spend my time, like I said, having heart-to-hearts with people about things that really don't matter to me. The other night, I did let Doug Reddick have it.
Don't get what? The fact that you're not funny? Because everybody in this room gets that.
That was at Dive Bar, which Dive Bar I've talked about before. One of my favorite spots just because it's a dive bar and they don't pay attention to you. And I feel like that's the kind of room that really does make you stronger. Doug Reddick, if you don't know him, I referenced him a long time ago because during shutdown, me, Bruce Leonard, and Doug Reddick were regular hangout friends. Like, we were quarantine buddies because everybody else was quarantining. And I lived right up the street from Bruce Leonard, and Bruce Leonard was hanging out with Doug. And so I thought I had a good relationship with Doug. Then Doug went on this rant the other night where he was talking about this guy named Parker Tighe while he was on stage at the dive. And I didn't really care for that because he really did seem to be shitting on Parker Tighe. And I like Parker Tighe because Parker Tighe is a young guy. He's only in his 20s. And he started to do comedy, but he's really dedicated himself to doing comedy. And he's doing everything you have to do to actually become a working comic. And he's made good headway. He runs his own room out at Happy Earth Market, which is in the Henderson area. It's a fun room. He's had some really good headliners there. He's had some of my friends headline it. He's had some of my not so friends headline it. But I support what Parker Tighe is doing. And Doug seemed to be trying to shit on him, and it turned out that Parker was in the room. One of the places Doug lost my respect was when Parker walked in. Bijou's dying in the background if you can't hear. But when Parker Tighe turned out to be in the room while Doug was talking about him, which Doug hadn't realized that Parker was still in the room. He thought Parker had left. And then Parker came in and was like, "What are you saying about me?" And Parker wasn't mad about it, but he pretended to be mad. And then Doug went on this thing about, like how Parker Tighe was stupid for not noticing that the guy he was talking to was wearing a union shirt. And Parker, I guess it said something about the union and asked that guy what he did for a living or something like that. And Doug was going after him about that being a redundant question. But I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not always reading other people's shirts. Right now, I'm wearing a Sullen clothing shirt. They are actually a brand I really do like, and I'll be wearing a lot more stuff from them coming up. I actually do want to become an ambassador for Sullen clothing. But anyway, Doug went on this entire rant that was completely inaccurate in what he was saying. And I just didn't really feel that it was not only not productive, but also it's like, who are you? Because Doug is in and out of town. He's not ever really a fixture on the scene or a part of the scene. He'll be around for a little while and then he'll leave again. And then he'll be around for a little while and then he'll leave again. So for him to come after a person like Parker Tighe that has been steadily working his way through the Las Vegas comedy scene for, I don't know, a couple of years at least, since before shutdown, so 2020, and he's really been diligent about it. Like I said, I can't express like the dedication that I see Parker working with, or using. Like, it's just, he really is dedicating himself to stand up. And I am a person that I don't care about your age. If you're dedicating yourself to stand up and you're really about it, then I'm going to encourage you. And especially if you're a good writer and you're willing to do the things that you have to do and make the sacrifices that you have to make. Because when you're in your 20s and you're willing to give up your social life, and Parker isn't a bad looking guy, so it's not like, oh, well, he couldn't get dates if he wanted to, or he couldn't hang out with people if he, Parker's a good looking guy, and he's also a fun guy and a nice guy. And so it's not like he wouldn't have other options if he decided that he didn't want to work on stand-up at all. And so I realized that maybe some people wouldn't appreciate one thing that I said to Doug.
What is the point of this? To make me quit or like make me get better? What's the point?
Neither.
Okay, then there we go. I win.
Yeah, I just plain think you're stupid.
So it's like ambivalent. So you like don't care if I quit or get better.
I don't care what you do. I wish you would fucking kill yourself is what I really wish.
There we go. Now we got
that would be getting better.
Now the shit's out in the open of what people are in the comedy world. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of positivity, but it's
that wasn't a fucking secret, Doug. That wasn't a fucking secret.
Real negativity. Woo.
Yeah, the shit we covered. Like,
what do you think you're doing when you're up here? You think that's positivity? You think saying that you didn't like Parker Tighe was positivity? Now, do you think that wasn't exposing the fucking secret? I'm exposing the fucking secret.
I'm not necessarily proud of that moment, but at the same time, I'm not ashamed of it either. It is what it is. And I know some people would say, you should never say that. Okay, don't tell me what I should never do. So first off, that. But secondly, I was really, like I said, upset because I didn't consider it to be productive at all. And when I pressed Doug about what his problem with Parker was, he did say that it was because Parker was young and he hasn't been through anything.
Why is Parker Tighe the guy we're sucking off?
Nobody sucks Parker Tighe off.
I think you guys got
But if you want to know, Parker Tighe writes fucking jokes and he's funny most of the time, so there's that.
He's a child.
What's that?
He's a child.
What does that have to do with anything?
It's not fucking, I'm never gonna like him until he's fucking gone through something in his life. He's a fucking high school kid, basically.
You're a grown man and you haven't gone for anything in your life.
Well, who are any of us to say who's been through what? And with younger comics, sometimes I think about that just in a, very technical way, the fact that they may not have the most life experience. So I always feel like they can make the stuff that they actually do know about funny. Like if it's a really young kid, because every once in a while we'll have like a 15-year-old, 16-year-old. Coda Hawk was one of those comics that was super young like that. I think now he's 17 or 18, which is still super young. But it's like if you can make recess fun, because when we were kids, we all went to recess. If you can make that fun and relatable and get laughs off of it, then far be it from me to say that what you do isn't good or isn't funny or there's not an audience for it. If people are laughing, which that's, with Parker's sets, people do like his stuff. They do laugh at his stuff. So it's not like he's completely unrelatable. And yeah, he may not have the most life experience, but at the same time, what people like Parker are doing when they start off comedy young is they're really just training themselves. So when they do get that experience, that life experience, then they can just drop that in and they already have the stage presence and they already have their audience and they already have the respect of other comics and they already have access to do the shows that they want to do. And so I think you're really just setting yourself up for the future. I mean, I personally, when I was in my early 20s, I wouldn't have been interested in doing stand-up because I was too busy like living club life and doing all that stuff. But at the same time, I don't think it would have been the worst thing in the world. It just wasn't right for me. So what's right for you isn't necessarily right for everybody. And I just think that if you're going to be around and you're going to be kind of a visitor in the community, which is what Doug is, and we do try to be as positive with him as we possibly can, or had tried to be as positive with him as we possibly can. Like he came out to Ocha Bar one night when we were first starting it out and he was heckling the comics and talking about how terrible they were. And I literally took him outside and was just, and not like, took him outside like I'm going to talk to you. But I did like say, come on, let's go outside. And I talked to him about that and just told him, don't come here and just spread negativity because nobody needs that. And that's not what this room is about. And some people would get it confused because I will have fun with the comics while they're on stage, while we're at Ocha doing Thai Comedy Dojo. But that's what my job is when we're there. And so it's kind of like a way of coaching and giving instruction, making it fun for the audience at the same time. And then at the same time, making it fun when it's not. Because every once in a while, that's the real reason that I chime in. It's because, okay, this is really dragging ass right now and I have to help this out because it is my show. And I've told people before, the owner will give money and that's what caused us to be able to double what we were giving for set of the week, because set of the week used to be $25, and that came directly from me and came out of my OCHA money. And so the owner had said that he, didn't want me to contribute my money to the show, that should be his expense. And so he offered to give the $25. Well, I wasn't missing that $25 anyway. So I said, okay, if you're going to give $25, then how about I give $25? And I didn't say this to the owner. I said it to AJ. And I was like, if he's going to give $25, then how about I give $25? And then we can have a $50 set of the week. And then not too long ago, one of the comics that I've talked about on Comedy Tip Tuesday before, that watches my Comedy Tip Tuesday and asked a couple of questions, Robert Real Deal Martinez, ended up winning the big one, because the big one was $150. It was supposed to be $125 because the owner puts in the 100 and the 25, and then I put in the other 25, and so then we have $150. And so with that being the case, I think that's the way the math worked out on that. But anyway, it was $150 was what it was. I know that for sure. And so Robert graciously, and, thankful to Robert that he ended up just deciding that he was going to give that money back to us. And he was like, make that part of the pot. So then I added another 25 to the weekly from the money Robert gave back to the room, because I was like, I'm not going to keep the money. And, AJ was like, yeah, I don't think we should just make it a really big pot one time. I think we should spread it out over time, and then more people can benefit. And so we came to the idea that we'd just make it a $75 set of the night until we run out of Robert's money. And we might make extra for the, the weekly 125, which will make it like 170, 175, or possibly we'll go a little bit bigger than that. I haven't decided what we're going to do. We have till the end of the month to figure that out. But anyway, my point is that money that the owner actually gives to us, what people don't understand is even on the nights that the open mic part of it may not necessarily seem worth it to the owner, I have to be worth that money, and that's why we get the money. AJ has to be worth that money, and AJ is definitely worth the money, because AJ gives these almost borderline pro wrestling Michael Buffer introductions to all the comics, and I always joke that he gives the best but most insincere introductions to everybody. And everybody gets what I'm saying, because I'm not at all saying he's an insincere person, but if you ever heard his intros, he gives very insincere intros, because we won't even know these people. Like, sometimes we don't even know the comic that's going to go on. And AJ's like, guys, this next comic is my best friend. And it's like, we just met this person tonight, AJ. How is that your best friend? But I don't say anything during the show. We just have fun with it. It's just a really fun part of the night. And so when I say AJ earns his money, AJ also is the host through the show. I just do like the commentary on the side and kind of take what I would call the Ian Respect my authority Rainier spot. See, that's what I mean by every once in a while just being catty for the fun of it. I didn't need to say that right there, but it was fun. But so I'll just be on the side kind of, every once in a while chiming in or whatever like that. And so the show has to be worth it one way or another. So that's a part of why I do what I do during the show. But my point is, Doug Reddick had the wrong idea, and that was before we even did that kind of stuff where I would kind of heckle a little bit or ask questions. And Doug was just being negative and talking about how much everybody sucked and their set sucked. And it's like, you're not even good. And I'm not saying that to be rude or catty. Like I told you guys before, I would never say that about somebody that is funny, that is good. And I think Doug Reddick, honestly, I think he could be funny if he would just stop worrying about everybody else and worry about himself. Because I think that Doug Reddick and Angie Krum have a similar problem, and that's the reason I wouldn't deal with any of them right now, or either of them right now. And that problem is they really feel like life is happening to them and not happening for them. And I am the opposite. And I'm not trying to get hippy dippy and weird on you guys, but this is just honestly the way I've come to see things over the last couple of years especially. Life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And the reason I say that is because even the bad things are meant to make you grow. Even the bad things will make you actually look at things in a different way and maybe be a little more introspective, and also teach you something that maybe you otherwise wouldn't have learned. So even when it comes to like my personal situation with the people that have talked badly about me, or the people that have lied about me, or the trick situation, like, I don't worry about any of this stuff, you know, because I just try to extract the lesson from it. I don't try to like hate on people and like, oh, I'm just going to have these bitter sworn enemies forever and that kind of stuff. It's not that kind of situation for me. And especially, you know, I'm being sober again now, which somebody had called me out about that because Casper, who's my friend, I don't mean called me out in a bad way, but Casper, who's one of the comedians here in town, at one point I mentioned something about having quit weed, and that was just on Monday because, you know, Saturday was the day that I technically stopped everything, technically Saturday, because late into Friday night I was still partying. But I decided to stop doing everything because I really need to be motivated and I need to do everything that I'm supposed to be doing. And my YouTube channel is growing, and Comedy Tip Tuesday is doing better all the time, and Unbothered is doing better all the time. And I know every once in a while the numbers are going to slump a little bit and I'm going to feel like I took a step back. But at the same time, if you just legitimately look at my videos, you'll see that the numbers have been increasing and the numbers have been getting better. So I'm just trying to keep that going, and I have a lot that I have to stay on top of. And the only reason that I had kind of slipped, and I wouldn't even call it slipped, but I had chosen to go back to smoking weed because when I had my surgery, one, I needed to be less active. So that helps me be less active because I'm a very physically active person. So if I smoke weed and I'm just sitting on the couch, then I'm not doing stuff I shouldn't be doing when I'm supposed to be healing a hernia. The other thing is, partway through healing through my hernia, that's when me and my roommate got into it. And again, contrary to what people think, I didn't want any problems with my roommate. So if I was going to be recording my podcast in the middle of the night or stuff like that, I knew it was going to start a problem. And so I had to watch the way I was doing things, because me, when I'm fully motivated, I'll record anytime I want to record. Like right now, it's 7 in the morning. Sometimes I record at 3 in the morning. Sometimes I'll record at 1 in the morning. It just depends on what I feel and what I'm going through and when the mood strikes me. And that's the way I do this podcast. And that's what makes this podcast special for me, is that I just do it when I really feel it. And so it gives the most natural result as far as I go. And so I wasn't able to do that when I was with my roommate. So again, I didn't want to be at full motivation because of what was going on with my roommate. And then it kind of lingered on a little bit longer than even I wanted it to. And that's just because I do sometimes do things just kind of the way I feel them naturally. Well, pretty much all the time now. It used to be sometimes. Now it's just, I pretty much just guide myself by intuition. And so with that being the case, it was like, okay, so it took me a couple of weeks of being here in my apartment to actually get it together. I think I'm like maybe 5 weeks living here. No, I'm actually like 3 weeks living here. And so, you know, I had stuff to do around here, and I was really not worried about a lot of things. And I'm not worried about anything now, but I just know that I have to buckle down, and I have a lot of things coming up and a lot of things to promote and a lot of things that I want to see grow. And that's what I was talking about when I said I don't necessarily see some of the things that some people see as a bad thing as far as I go. Because like when it comes to my situation with like LA Comedy Club specifically, like I was working there all the time, and that had lulled me into this kind of security where it was like I work weekends there, and then throughout the weeks they would just hit me up out of nowhere. And so I really wasn't worried about like, you know, taking care of my social media at that time. Like I was only doing the minimum with my YouTube channel, but I've always wanted to create content ever since I started creating content way back. I think 2016 was when I started my channel, but then I fell off for different reasons, and then life just happened. And so what better time than right now? And so I wasn't doing that. And when that whole thing happened with LA Comedy Club, then it just forced me to have to be able to do more things. When the thing happened with Ocha Bar, Ocha was dropped in my lap because me and Delilah, you know, had that falling out. And then I was stuck with this room that I really hadn't wanted in the beginning, but then it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. And I like seeing what it's growing into. And I like that I'm able to help comics. And I like that comics actually enjoy the show. I like that we have a couple of regular audience members that really enjoy the show. I like that we're putting it on YouTube so people can check it out, you know, 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. On YouTube on this same channel, you know, you can watch us do Ocha. And so there's so many things that I think have been positive from what should have been negative that I just refuse to look at things in a negative way. Do I every once in a while get down? Yeah, sure. Is it about any particular thing or any specific thing? No. Just like sometimes a buildup of just things in my head because I'm human. But I don't try to feed into that, and I always try to just slide back into the positive and think about what's better and what's best. The other day I had this weird depression that luckily only lasted a couple hours, but I was really down for a couple hours, and it wasn't about any particular thing. It just all of a sudden happened. So my point was, I talked about the fact that I chose not to talk to a friend anymore. I decided to cut a new friend off, and it is a new friend, like within the last month or whatever. But it was because they had just brought some negativity to me at one point. And they at first were like, this person was talking about you. They said this, they said that. And I was like, I don't even know who that person is, so I don't know why they have so many opinions on me, but whatever. And I didn't mind them just bringing it up to me like that. I don't mind people bringing things up to me once, but it was like they kept going back to that and reminding me. And it's like, if I told you guys this person's name, you wouldn't know it. Actually, nobody on the Las Vegas comedy scene would really know that person's name, the person that was talking badly about me. And like, that should tell you right there that, like, why would I care? I don't even care when influential people say things about me. And to tell you the truth, no influential people are saying anything bad about me. But Vegas politics, like people that like supposedly matter on Vegas politics, I don't care about them either. And if they talk about me, because that's their business if they want to talk about me, that has very little to do with me. Every once in a while I'll hear something that I'm like, I want to clear that up, and I'll come on Unbothered and clear it up. But I don't spend extra time thinking about it. So why would somebody that's supposed to be my friend keep bringing this negativity to me? And if you ever are talking to one of your friends and you start off a conversation with the words, okay, you know how everybody thinks you're bullshit? It's like, no, actually everybody doesn't think I'm bullshit. So I don't know why you're saying that. Maybe you think I'm bullshit. And eventually I'll just get tired of you and I'll find a reason to get rid of you. So that's what happened. Was he did something that I consider to be a bit of a violation to friendship. And also we were supposed to be working together. So even a bit of a violation as far as the business side of things go. And so I hit him up about it, and he tried to at first explain it, not even explain it away, just tell me that it wasn't a thing and whatever else. And that I was like basically just starting something out of nothing. And I was like, okay, well, if that's really the way you feel, then let's just not hang out anymore. And I'm fine with that. And then he tried to go on at me about, all the things he does in a day. And it's like, I don't really care about that. I'm not your husband. I don't care what you do in a day. I don't care what your days look like. I just don't. So it just led to me feeling like, all right, well, I don't really want to be friends anymore. I don't really want to hang out. And that's what I decided to do. And that would be, I guess, the point of this entire episode is just do what you have to do to take care of you, and don't let anybody drop their shit on you and just decide this is the way we're going to live, or this is the way you're going to do things, or these are the things you're going to pay attention to. I will tell you guys honestly, I told you before, I do respect open micer as like a position, in comedy, or a phase in comedy, a step in comedy. I really do respect it as that, but I'll be damned if I'm going to pay attention to what open micers think about me. Like, that's just not what it is. I've been doing this way too long, which is something else Doug Reddick brought up, which he was like, Thai Rivera's been doing comedy for 19 years and he still comes to the open mics and acts like a big shot in Hollywood. And it's like, if I were acting Hollywood, I wouldn't wait in line like everybody else. I'd actually walk up to whoever books the room and just be like, hey, I want to go on now. But that's not something I do. That's not something I try to flex. I'm just like, I hang out like everybody else. The other night, I spent 2 hours at Dive Bar just to do my spot at the end of the night. Every time I go to Dive Bar, I go last, unless it's like a special occasion and I want to get out of there for some particular reason. But usually I'm perfectly fine to sit around as long as they want me to sit around, because I'm going to go up last anyway. Then I don't have to worry about anything. Then I don't have to worry about bumping anybody. Then I can usually go up as long as I want to. Ocha is the same situation. Like, yeah, I have fun during the show, but my official set happens at the end of the night at Ocha, and it'll be productive for me, but it's not like a superstar set, or you know what I mean, where it's like, I'm headlining Ocha Bar. No, it's not at all like that. It's just me actually getting some stage time in and getting to talk about some things that I thought were funnier things throughout the night. And so I really am not going to bother hanging out with people that want to bring anything to me other than positivity. Like, you know, if there's ever something that we seriously have to talk about that might not be the most pleasant or whatever, that's just a part of life. Every once in a while you do that. But when you bring unnecessary negativity to me, I will definitely cut you out of my life. Stay unbothered, everybody.